Hi, everybody. How is everybody doing? Welcome to Transgurus again. Here we are. We are
Mhm.
here.
We are here, honey.
And guess what? I'm back in Florida. We are four, so we're going to try to get you know, a nice little show for you. And the topic of today is something which is for us very important. It's called what is authenticity? What does it mean for you, authenticity? So, with those words,
Yeah.
I'll give to Dr. Bobby Glass.
Oh,
Go, Dr.
thank you.
Bobby.
You know, we were getting close to 27,000 subscribers, and I'm just so
Uh,
grateful.
we are
Um,
not far away.
that's, I remember when we were celebrating that, we were getting close to 5,000. So it's just really, really amazing. And I appreciate that so much. And it really does inspire us to think during the week about what would be helpful to talk about the next time we can get together. And this week, Jimmy is always talking about vibrating at a higher frequency and uh, how that changes your life when you can do that. And earlier this week, someone had sent something to me where they had actually measured those vibrations and that people emit. And down on the low end of the scale, there were things like shame and guilt, uh, um, things, lust. Those were really low vibration kind of things. And then it moved up on higher. And one of the highest vibrations that people can attain is love. Uh, but then above love, this was kind of a yogi chart. It was enlightenment. And enlightenment was the highest level that people could vibrate at. Well, these people were trying to figure out, well, what is enlightenment? And they started looking around and then they came to the conclusion that authenticity is the highest form of enlightenment and that it vibrates hundreds of times higher than even love. And so I was thinking, oh my gosh, somebody told me that I was authentic once. And it was like, what does that mean? And I'll tell you the first time I heard it. I had uh, I was in the closet so much of my life, and I have worked there. There's some people I worked with back in the '80s that we have remained really, really close. And after I came out, I thought I'm going to go out to San Francisco. I got to catch up with these people, and and I was telling them they were so happy for me that I transitioned and everything, and I was just going about how badly I felt about how dishonest I was and how I'd just been lying and faking it and I just wasn't real. And they said something. They said, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe that you were faking and lying because I thought you were the most authentic person I'd ever met." And it was like, that makes no sense because I was lying. And I didn't decide to um, just get up one day and say, I think I'm going to become authentic. I never made that decision. The decision that I made was I am sick and tired of lying. I had lied all my life. By the time I was 5 years old and I was growing up and just really small man, oh gosh, it was a long time ago. It was back in the 50s. There wasn't a whole lot going on in terms of gender affirming care back in the 50s. And I learned right away, I can't talk about this in my family. I'm going to get punished or ridiculed. And so I became a liar. I became a serial liar when I was 5 or 6 years old because I understood I couldn't talk about what was really going on. And that just ate away at me and it was killing me. I just hated it that had tainted all of my relationships since then. And what I decided was I am sick and tired of lying. I am not gonna lie anymore. I am gonna tell the truth. This is who I am. I'm coming out. And it was like I had gotten to the point where it was like, if I have to lose everything I have, it's worth it because I am dying. Literally, I am dying. I was really in bad shape. And all I just decided to do was to just stop lying about who I was. And that was the decision and from that day forward, people would come up and they'd say, "Oh, you're living your authentic self, and you're, and isn't that great that you're your real authentic self?" And that I started hearing that, and when I went to look up authenticity in the dictionary, there were like six definitions of it. And it was really mostly applied to, uh, people like appraisers and antique dealers and stuff like that, where, I think I've got a letter here from Hamilton to John Adams. And you have to have somebody look at it and study it and authenticate that. And so, yeah, that really, that's handwritten. And so they authenticate stuff. And I've had the hardest time really trying to transpose that, because that means it's genuine, it's real. And then it finally came into focus to me here just in the last month or so. I was talking with one of my neighbors that has known me forever. I've lived in Louisville for almost 50 years, and we've known each other for a long time. And she was saying, you back before you transitioned, you weren't very friendly. You hardly ever talked to anybody, and you're just so much nicer and friendly now. And I said, well, I should be, because I'm finally my real self. And that's what I finally decided. That's what it means. I was just fine. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. I don't really care. This is who I am. This is how I'm going to live, and I'm happy about that. And I've got confidence in it. And I think the confidence comes from I haven't lied. I haven't even told a white lie since that day. I just, that's it. I am never going to. And that was the decision I made. And once I did, people started telling me how authentic I was. So, anyhow, I have to get all these context clues. So, what does that mean? And all I could tell was I was just finally being my true. That's how I interpret it, but I'd love to hear how you all think about that. So I give it back to you, Ella.
Thank you. I really understand what you're talking about, because I think we've got many things in common. Where to go next? Raj, do you want to go next?
Okay, fine. Hi everybody, and welcome back. I might sound a little stuffy. My voice may sound a little different because I'm kind of under the weather,
Mhm.
but I'm here,
Mm.
and I think I zhuzhed it up a bit for you all. So when I think of authenticity, wow, the first word that comes to my mind is freedom. I It's because I think about being a little kid, and I dare to say that one of the missions of our existence here on the planet, like the purpose of us being here, is to be able to try to figure it out and connect with what your true self is, and then dare to live it, despite what your family says, what friends say, what the world says. And it's done on many different levels. So for me, okay, I think every day is an opportunity of authenticity in some way. You see me, I'm a transgender woman. And so to many people, I'm living my authentic truth. But then today, I could have had moments where I might have not been so authentic with people or with situations. And so there's so many aspects, I think, to the umbrella of authenticity, because in one particular area you can be authentic, but then in other areas you can be living lies and not be. And so I have, with me and my life journey, I think more and more, the more and more I live, the more and more I work on getting fully authentic, like, to full capacity, being able to just really be authentic. And there are moments in our journey where there's a saying, some things are left better unsaid. Something like that. Some things are left better unsaid. It goes something like that. I may be getting it a little screwed up. And so those are moments where you're thinking, okay, should I tell this person that, you know, I don't like their food, or I didn't like the cake they gave me, or should I just, you know, appreciate the kindness and the generosity and just say thank you and do whatever with it. Okay? Pass it on, throw it away or whatever. So there are moments I think we have to really decide how authentic we're going to be. And sometimes maybe it's best that you're not authentic or completely authentic in that particular moment. So it's a journey. And I think that we continue hopefully to evolve and grow. And Bobby, Dr. Bobby, you said something. You were saying that there's a chart of like a person vibrating at different
Vibration,
levels. And when we're vibrating on lower levels, you said something about like that's where, I think
shame and guilt.
shame and guilt, and you said lust. And so that struck a chord with me because recently I was thinking to myself, God, you're not having as many lustful moments as you used to have, because that it could be a lot that plays into that. My sex drive, my sexuality has really, like, tampered down, and so, maybe that's a sign of just me being more authentic, because it's not that I don't want love, or like I enjoy loving situations, but that struck me when you said that. I thought it was funny. I said, okay, maybe it's a good sign, I was thinking about that recently, about my sex drive and like my sexual activity, the way it used to be compared to now. Oh my
Mhm.
God, it was like at the ceiling at one time, and now it's like maybe about a quarter from
I
the floor. But
can relate.
that might mean my energy is vibrating through the ceiling, into the ethers. So I'm gonna kind of run with that one. Ella.
Okay. Okay. Jimmy, your turn, lady.
So hello everyone, and this is a really good topic because you know authenticity authenticity can only be defined by ourselves. I cannot define who Ella is or Dr. Bobby or Roger or anybody else. This is the one thing that only can be defined by the person themselves. And how I look at it, so um, in my younger days, I always knew something was up, but I couldn't put a finger on it, and I think it was because the concept of a transgender person didn't exist when we were all younger. So we just kind of just dealt with it and figured this is just how life is. And then as my life unfolded, I found myself in a position that I could blossom into a flower. And people always ask me, hey Jimmy, are you happy now? Well, I respond, I was never unhappy. As a kid watching TV on a black and white TV, that was the best thing since sliced bread. No one complained about a black and white TV, and then all of a sudden they made color TV. I was just as happy watching the color TV as I was a black and white TV. However, the experience was enhanced. So, and I love what Raji was talking about, the process of evolving to our authentic self is a continuing evolutionary process, because as we evolve, the process of evolution is a continuing process, where as we're growing in mind, body, and spirit, we as we grow and find ourselves in different circumstances and positions in life, we're exposed to new ideas. Our brain works behind the scenes to kind of mix the colors of the crayon box to create new colors. And so our life experience becomes enhanced. And so this is how I look at this. There's three components to the human experience that we know about right now. There may be more. And as we evolve, the mind, body, and spirit. Those are the three accepted modalities of the human experience. As we evolve, like I just said, we may find out that there's more that we haven't uncovered yet, or we haven't evolved to the point yet that we're able to see it or utilize it or even recognize it. So for a transgender individual, I know that I modified my body in the form of breasts. And the idea is to get all the horses running in the same direction. So let's say the mind is a bunch of horses, the body's a bunch of horses, and the spirit's a bunch of horses. You get all these horses running in the same direction. Let's say that you're on the side of a mountain and there's a valley down there with a whole herd of horses running in the same direction. You talk about the vibration that Dr. Bobby was talking about, that whole mountain's going to shake because all those horses are running in unison with one another. It's a powerful display of immense horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can get our mind, body, and spirit in a congruent, all vibrating at the same frequency, you're going to unleash a tremendous amount of horsepower. And how we can look at it is if you have, let's say that there's a pond, and you step back and you throw a pebble into the pond, how all the waves uniformly go away from center. But let's say you throw a rock into the pond, and then you get another rock and throw it in another area of the pond, where those two waves from one rock impact to the other rock impact, when they meet, they'll cancel each other out. So that's what happens when we're not in a congruent state. If our mind, body, and spirit are all in different zip codes or on different teams, or like all the horses, if they're running in circles or not running together, they're going to be running into one another and canceling each other out. So I think the objective of trying to establish an authentic state of existence is to get a coherent state of mind, body, and spirit. We're all on the same team, all vibrating at the same level, and then that vibration is elevated, and we end up into the fifth dimension, like we were talking about last night. All the confusion and all the chaos, all the horses are running into one another. That's like in the third dimension. The fifth dimension is when the horses are running in unison, and we can go all the way to the 10th dimension, which is the universe itself. But that's a story for another day, Ella.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have to say that what I'm hearing here tonight is absolutely incredible, and it is something that I really can, I am there too. When Bobby was telling that she was lying all her life, I wrote a book about it because I had the same issue. I knew since tender age that I was not in the right gender, and I fought for it all my life. Um, Now, what is the meaning of being authentic? By definition, authentic is to be real and truth. But truth and real to what? And in that respect, I only can find one answer. And it is called truth and real to yourself. The rest is whatever what you want to be. Means a very, very important point. How do you find yourself? And I think for all the transgender people which are around here, although many it's kind of automatic because that's the way we are. It's just we were born that way. It's not that we are being indoctrinated or whatever. We are born this way. And we realize very early that yes, we are what we are, and we want to live our true self, an authentic self. But it really implies that you have to get a little bit of work to find your own truth. And by the way, your own truth is probably not only because you are transgender, but because of many other things as well. Transgender is just a central piece, at least for me it was. And since I stopped lying and telling everybody that, you know what, I am this guy which is trying to do, and I actually didn't pass that well. But you have, and this is someone I believe that everybody in this world, if they are transgender or not, they have the obligation to find their true selves. Where are they? What they want? Who am I really? Don't forget, not many people do that. Many, many people live in a stadium of continuous lying to themselves. And that is the worst lie. That's why some people have got many issues and they try to escape themselves. Of course, it's not the only reason that people have tried to escape. Sometimes it's because of whatever is around you and surrounds you. And many, many people, for transgender people, big issue can be your acceptance. Your acceptance meaning the way you live. Either you are strong enough, and I believe that we here are, that we say, this is my real life, and there is no choice. There is no discussion. But some people still want to have a lot of feedback from their environment. And that can create problems because some people don't like to. So I have to say that in my life, I really tried to be my authentic self. I think I learned what my authentic self is, not only as a transgender person, but in general, my business, everything I do. And, I am so much more free from the time before. I can breathe. Even if I make a mistake, who cares? It's my mistake. It's my way of living. It's probably not a mistake at all. It's just a part of my life. So, I mean, this is what I would like to tell about my authentic self is that, yes, it's like Jimmy said, it's, the soul, everything to get there. But realize what you are. Realize it is very, very, very personal. You are the only person which can define your authentic self, nobody else. With those words, I put it to our wonderful team of trans gurus. Who wants to go next?
Well,
I'd like to
go ahead, Jimmy.
add something. Okay, so in order to achieve this state of authenticity, it's going to require some horsepower. It's going to require some discipline. And what I have experienced in my life, the vision that I have for myself, I have the resources within me to make it a reality. And that's true for every human being. So whatever vision that we have for ourselves, the resources or the wherewithal or the horsepower necessary to achieve that reality is within each of us. And I think that is all this we're talking about is self actualization. All these things, I would say 99% of the topics that we talk about on this show have to do with how to achieve the state of self actualization, self mastery, and that is making the vision for ourselves a reality. You know, I was talking to somebody in the gym earlier today that when I look in the mirror, I see my spirit in human form. You know, I mentioned this on this podcast many times before. My spirit is a transgender Amazon warrior goddess. And so I have within me the necessary horsepower to make that a reality. And that's part of that's inclusive in my journey to achieve self-actualization. Ella.
Absolutely. Bobby, you would.
Yeah, well, gosh, you all, I'm so glad you all wanted to talk about this tonight because um, it's helping to clear up a lot of things. Jimmy had just mentioned self-actualization, and people that are, familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's all kinds of stuff on the bottom of that pyramid that have to be taken care of in terms of food and shelter and the sense of safety and things like that. And once you have those things, that's when you can start assembling what self-actualization looks like to you. And I wanted to remind everybody this is really hard. What we do is really, really hard. And I'm old enough to have, boy, Western civilization has really fucked us over so badly. But 1973 was when the American Psychological Association and American Medical Association decided they would quit pathologizing being queer, homosexual. Until 1973, that was considered sexual deviancy and perversion and something that had to be treated, a mental illness. But in 1973, they said, whoops, we made a mistake. Guess what? Being homosexual is just another part of the human condition. It's actually normally occurring in lots of people. And it's not, we're not going to pathologize that anymore. It's not a disease. It's not a deviancy. It's not abnormal psychology. Now, they didn't apply that same grace to the transgender population until 2012. And just in case you need to do the math, that was 12 years ago. And so for all of our life, we have been operating under this cloud that who we are is sexual deviancy, pathological. You have to conform. And and we have fallen for so many schemes to conform. It's real popular among gay men, especially that if I get married, that'll cure me. It is like, I think we all know a lot of gay men where that didn't work out real well. And I was in a bad marriage like that myself for a long time. And then if you especially in the South where I have always lived, very religious, that whole southeastern part of the United States, conversion therapy. It's like, you cannot do this. You're not allowed to think that way. And so I have just operated under all of this really intense pressure to make me conform. and I put on this mask and I have to do all of these things and then I draw attention to myself. Hey, did you see where I got this award? Or hey, did you see that I was first in my class for this or that? And I was trying to attract all of this attention to myself so I could like prove that, hey, I'm conforming, I'm being, and oh God, it was just making me miserable, miserable, miserable. And I've mentioned it before, just getting more and more suicidal because I was just fabricating all of this stuff. And I finally got to the point, it's like, what if I came out and lost everything I had? My family, my income, my house, my insurance, my employment. If I lost everything I had, and I finally got to the point, well, I've got to do it. If if I've got to lose everything I've got and start all over again, it's worth it to me, and I've got to do it. And that's a big decision. Jimmy's exactly right. That is a huge decision. It does take a lot of courage and it takes a lot of motivation to continue on. But the bottom line is, I am finally, this is who I am. This is who I have been all my life, and I've just never permitted to live my truth. And I don't really care if you like it or not. You don't have to live in this body. I do, and I am finally happy. I am just enjoying my life immensely and doing things that I've just never dreamed would ever happen to me, but they really finally are. And so I I I just want to say that I think for the trans population, becoming authentic is extremely hard because there's all of this pressure and all of this resistance. And sometimes I've got to ask myself, why? What is so important about conformity? Why is it that you insist that everybody behave a certain way and follow a certain pathway through life? And why is that so important? Because we're created to be unique, not to be, clones. So I don't know. It's a tough stuff. And I think that because of that, now that the trans people are a threat, because it's like we've kind of broken out of that matrix. It's like we will not conform. You cannot force us to do that, and that is very threatening to a lot of people that have devoted their whole life to conforming, and they or capitalism. It doesn't work unless we have conforming, and we got a whole millions of worker bees, all that kind of stuff. And so anyhow, I think um, that authenticity, of course, it's important, and it's the only way that you actualize. And this is who I really am, and I'm going to live the rest of my life this way. And it's so important to me. I don't care what you think about it. I really don't. I'm happy for the first time in my life, and I intend to stay that way. So, back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that is very important. Yep. Same here, by the way. Raji, you were talking with
Sure. Well, I said in the beginning of the show that I'm dealing with health issues. I think my lighting is dealing with health issues too, because my light blew in the middle of it was flickering and then it just blew. So anyway, I'm still here. I'm sure you all can see me
we
Yeah.
can
at least a little bit. Um, so first, I want to say, Bobby, you said something in the beginning about when you hooked up with some friends that you had
Mhm.
from years ago, and you were talking about how like you feel like you're living your authenticity now, but they said, but no, you were so authentic back then.
Yeah.
You know what that was? That was basic. Oh, see, it's back on.
It looks good too.
Is it might be something with the universe and and the authenticity
Um,
thing.
you're
The
vibrating too much.
vibrating exactly. But what I was going to say is in in the way you conducted relationships on a certain level, maybe you've always had that authenticity. It just took you some time for you to kind of full circle it around, and be able to like live your authentic truth as far as like identity, gender identity. But it was always there. It was always there. That kind of struck me. And I think for all of us too, because even me, like I think for the most part, I've always been somewhat of a authentic person, even from a little kid. So it's just again the building on it. But there was one main thing that all of us said in our own way, and that was only you can know what is authentic for you. We have a spiritual internal guidance system, and that statement is so very true. And I think a lot of us forget it because we're constantly being pressured by social expectations and family expectations and et cetera, and living up to a certain image and all. But I think if everyone out there can remember that, listen to your internal guidance system, you'll know whether or not you're on the correct path to your true authenticity. Because let me just tell you, there's people in the world that look at me and say, wow, what a way to go. Raji is really living her authentic self. But there's also people in the world that are looking at me and saying that I'm living a lie, that I
Mhm.
was born a man and I should be living as a man. So,
Yeah.
that's when you get into all perception and perspectives. And that's why the internal guidance system, this internal spiritual guidance system that we all have, that is where it comes in. You have to listen to that and know, okay, no, no, no. I don't care what everyone's saying. This feels good and it's authentic to me. Ella?
Absolutely. And that is a very important thing, and that you really have to give the thought of who you are.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm so glad you brought that up, Raji, too, because you're right. We're here saying we're authentic finally, and there's millions of people saying, "Oh no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, no, you're counterfeit." And it's like, this is who I am. Take
Yes.
it
Look,
from me.
throughout the history of the world, there's always been religions and always been civilizations which were very conservative, and they didn't expect and accept any deviations for what they thought was normal. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, uh, it has been always like that. And it's the eternal pendulum that we always talk about, comes one side, goes to the other, goes to the other. But unfortunately, one of the civilizations which was very, very, very anti um, being yourself is the Anglo-Saxon
Mhm.
civilization. I know some people, actually, I've got a very good friend of mine, and his great great grand uncle was a member of the British Parliament at the times of Queen Victoria, and he passed the first bill against homosexuality.
Mhm.
He was not very beloved by 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 Queen Victoria, apparently, so much so that he had to leave England afterwards.
Oh, wow.
His name was Henry de Labouchere, and it was a person which actually passed the bills against being homosexual. So, um, against meaning, I mean, that it would be criminal.
Mhm.
Don't forget as well, the same people, um, more or less at the same time, that means beginning of not the 20th, but of the 19th century, in India, where there was a very, very large, and there still is, community of transgender people, which criminalized them. The Indras was and is a community of transgender people. I think that, I mean, India has got one of the biggest amount of transgender people in the world. I mean, it's really quite incredible. I mean, we're talking about millions and millions of
Mhm.
transgender. And you see them sometimes on the road when you are in India. They are somehow, it's a, from the Hindu people, they are very respected and they like them. But it's not always an easy position. But they were forbidden and they were declared, um, you know, criminals by the British when they were in India. And it took over a century that they were pardoned by the Indian government. So, it goes on the right direction, but sometimes the pendulum gets a little bit hard. And I do hope that whatever is happening right now politically is, changes fast, because we hope that today's vision changes, mainly from the political side, what's happening in the United States right now. Here in Florida, it's clearly that kids are suffering from what's going on, and it's already started. So anyway, I don't want to go into politics because we are not here for that. I just want to tell that be your real self, no matter what. It's always very interesting to see that, you know, although there have been laws against us, that we always been here, we've always been here, and we'll always be in the future, whatever happens. But just make the life of some people probably a little bit easier in that you allow them to be themselves. Okay. With those words, I think that we have to finish up today. And thank you very much for watching Transgurus. We will be here next week again. It was absolutely fantastic today. I like this authentic self is very important. Bye everybody.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bless.